I'm sure that most of you know the structure of Mad Lad videos well enough by now. We like to tell the stories of cool lives and or events chronologically, tell some jokes, give some takes that make my lawyer very nervous, and then round it off with a little discussion identifying any themes or morals that can be gleaned from such stories. I think it's good to figure out how these cool stories contribute to the grand narrative of history and to see if they can teach us more about current events, whether that be due to the cyclical nature of history or the simple fact that some idiots just never learn. But some mad lads are a lot more notable for the things that they said rather than did. And today's subject came out with so many bangers that for the most part, I'm just going to let him speak for himself. While many never learn the lessons from history, this man simply never learned how to stop talking. And after a 99-year lifespan and over 22,000 engagements, he had a lot to say. Some things were profound and reflective, others were uncouth and offensive, but damn near all of them were really, really funny. So, sit back and relax as we enjoy the wit and wisdom of Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. Please leave a like and a comment on this video because it really helps me in the algorithm. But before we get started, how do I sound? My editor worked really hard in his Souls-like poison swamp that he calls his desk to get the audio balance just right for you. So, the least you can do is make sure that you're listening to my hooting and hollering with the best quality hardware possible. Raycons. There is truly no better way of listening to me than with Raycons. The quality of the everyday earbuds rivals some of the biggest premium brands, and with a new quick charging function that gets you 90 minutes of battery in just 10 minutes and a 32-hour battery life, you can listen to so many Mad Lads in quick succession. But while I can't get enough of my own voice, I also like to partake in a little bit of music. Blasting Hip to Be Square on loop while on my Sigma grind set in the gym. And the bass boosted sound profile is ideal for listening heavy while I lift heavy. Shut up, yes I do. Also, the active noise cancellation really helps with ignoring my writers whenever they start talking about Rome again. Or saying that they haven't seen their families in months and can we please go home now and other stuff that I really don't care about. Now, if you thought that these gizmos were cool before, then you will be very happy to hear that there is another new feature. Multi-point connectivity, which allows you to pair with two devices at once. I can listen to Subway Surfers gameplay and Family Guy Funny Moments compilations at the same time. And if that's not enough of a boon to my stimming, their ergonomic design and optimised gel tips provide a snug fit that means they won't even fall out when I run face first into doors. Yippee. So, if you want to bag yourself some of these bad boys in one of their many funky colours, mine are actually whatever colour this is, but yours could be royal blue, blush violet, carbon black, or forest green. All you have to do is click the link down in the description or go to buyraycon.com/Dankula to get 20 to 40% off on your purchase, plus free shipping. And once you've got your Raycons, why not give them a test drive by staying for the rest of this video and rejoicing in their auditory splendour. I'm sure that many of you all know Prince Philip's backstory. Born Prince Philip of Greece and Denmark, the Greco-Turkish War made being Greek royalty a little bit unhealthy. He was exiled to Britain in an orange crate. He served in the Royal Navy throughout World War II. He adopted the name Mountbatten, yada yada, you get the gist. This isn't a Mad Lad video, so I'm not going to get too deep into the weeds on that. So I thought we would start with Prince Philip's comments on marriage, since his marriage to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II was the event that really put him into the spotlight. Right off the bat, he started off very strong at the Queen's coronation, where he is purported to have asked her, "Where did you get that hat?" Talking about the crown. Now, as much as I hope to the contrary, this quip may be apocryphal, but either way, it sets the tone for what's to come very nicely. As the royal couple settle down into married life and the whole ruling Britain thing, the arrival of heirs to the throne was at hand. But there was a problem. Kids usually have their father's last name, which in this case would have been Mountbatten. However, the firstborn, Charles, was the heir to the throne, held by the House of Windsor by his mother. So this led to quite a bit of a pickle between Philip and his royal spouse, since he obviously wanted to pass his name to his kids, and the Queen, and quite prominently Winston Churchill, were very keen on the name Windsor remaining. In the end, it was decided that the kids from their line that actually had surnames, i.e. weren't called Prince or Princess and referred to mononymously, they would be called Mountbatten Windsor, which I would say is a fair compromise. But throughout the affair, Philip is noted as having privately complained by saying, "I'm just a bloody amoeba," while feeling particularly put out by having to play second fiddle to his wife. Nevertheless, Prince Philip got used to his position as the royal consort, and he went on to absolutely kill it for the next 70 odd years. On one occasion, he even met an Australian man who introduced himself by saying, "My wife is a doctor of philosophy and much more important than I am." Commiserating, Philip quipped, "Ah yes, we have that trouble in our family too." But Prince Philip's comments on marriage didn't stop there. That would be far too reasonable. In 1988, people were claiming that those who sell slaughtered meat have greater moral authority than those who do blood sports. And Prince Philip had an interesting turn of phrase in rebuttal. "I don't think a prostitute is more moral than a wife, but they are doing the same thing." I mean, I get his point, but considering who he was married to, that response is fucking wild. And further compounding such cheek was Philip's observation that when a man opens a car door for his wife, it's either a new car or a new wife. Those living outside of the UK won't understand. This man spent his entire life dropping absolute bangers. It sounds like Prince Philip must have taken a fair bit of putting up with on the Queen's part, because when giving advice for a successful marriage, he said that tolerance is the one essential ingredient. You can take it from me that the Queen has the quality of tolerance in abundance. One such occasion where this abundance of tolerance would have been needed was at the end of a 1994 trip to Belize. Prince Philip was on the deck of the HMY Britannia while the Queen was busy being a good guest and taking her sweet time talking to her hosts on the quayside. The five of you watching this with girlfriends or wives at home must have an idea of how frustrating that is. But Prince Philip spoke for all of us when he said, in front of all of them, "Yak, yak, yak, come on and get a move on." He said that to the Queen. I mean, it's nice to see that despite the constraints of protocol and the burden of divine right, the pair were still just like any other old married couple. But all of the funny business aside, Prince Philip could say some really wholesome and profound things when he wanted to. In the 1940s, Prince Philip wrote to the then Princess Elizabeth. "To have been spared in the war and seen victory, to have been given the chance to rest and to readjust myself, to have fallen in love completely and unreservedly, makes all one's personal and even the world's troubles seem small and petty." The man had riz. The royal couple clearly took For Better or Worse very, very seriously, and they made it work until death did they part. Must be fucking nice, but anyway, but Philip's devotion to his wife did not preclude him from commenting on the state of other women. Far from it. In 1961, Prince Philip told the Scottish Women's Institute that British women can't cook. Now you all know that British food is the best in the world, so it's very good of him to act in the best interests of our national image by going to the source of the problem itself and telling those uppity females to get it together and start pulling their own weight. Clearly unafraid of talking unfiltered to women in high places, Philip met a group of female Labour MPs whose name badges all read Miss. And he came out with the absolutely earth-shattering, so this is the feminist corner then. Fucking. Honestly, we all should have been paying a lot more attention to this man while he was still alive. We could have learned from him. But do not worry, this wasn't a protocol-breaking political comment, because Philip's baseness was bipartisan. When he was in Edinburgh with the Scottish Conservative leader, Annabel Goldie, Philip pointed at some tartan and asked her, "Do you have a pair of knickers made out of this?" And he also said to a female lawyer, "I thought it was against the law these days for a woman to solicit." But not all of Prince Philip's comments about women were quite so spicy. After the attempted kidnapping of his daughter, Princess Anne, in 1974, Philip said that if the man had succeeded in abducting Anne, she would have given him a hell of a time while in captivity. I don't struggle to believe that, since the Princess Royal has a bit of a reputation not unlike her father's. She's even cool enough to pull off a bicorn hat and be an Olympic equestrian. The latter prompting her father to say that if it doesn't fart or eat hay, then she's not interested. But despite that quip, Prince Philip did share at least some of his daughter's interest in the equine, having said in 1965 that, and I quote, "The only active sport which I follow is polo, and most of the work is done by the pony." Other Prince Philipisms about the royal family include his response to being asked when the then Prince Charles would succeed to the throne, which was, "Are you asking me if the Queen is going to die?" Prince Philip also had some very wonderful things to say about all things foreign. In 1965, when he was shown a piece of Ethiopian art, he said, "It looks like the kind of thing my daughter would bring back from her school art lessons." But if you thought that was undiplomatic, well, when asked what he thought of Beijing, China, while he was visiting there, Prince Philip simply said, "Ghastly." Like, in front of everyone, including all of the Chinese diplomats. He didn't seem to have a particularly high opinion of Chinese cuisine either, because at a 1986 WWF meeting, the Animal Conservation Society that he co-founded, not the other one, Prince Philip actually said, "If it has 4 legs and is not a chair, has wings and is not an aeroplane, or swims and is not a submarine, the Cantonese will eat it." That same year, he told British students being educated over in China, that if you stay here much longer, you'll all be slitty-eyed. Then, when one of the students mentioned that the British students didn't actually live with the Chinese, Prince Philip said, "So the Chinese don't want to mix with the barbarians." Prince Philip actually had quite a bit to say to Britons who were out and about across the world, like asking, Are you running away from something? To expats who were living in Abu Dhabi, telling a Briton in Budapest that you can't have been here that long, you haven't got a potbelly. And my personal favourite, asking, you managed to not get eaten then? To a British student who just got back from a trip to Papua New Guinea. While the usual suspects would balk at such problematic heckin' xenophobia, at least Prince Philip had the nerve to actually say it to their faces. Such as asking a wealthy Cayman Islander, aren't most of you descended from pirates? Or asking an Australian Aboriginal, do you still throw spears at each other? And when asked if he would like to visit the Soviet Union in 1967, he said, I would like to go to Russia very much, although the bastards murdered half of my family. Considering the tensions at the time, it was probably for the best that he didn't go. Prince Philip caused further offence during a visit with the Italian Prime Minister in the year 2000. Bunga Bunga time was still a year off, so it was looking like a fairly stuffy affair. The Italian PM offered Philip a really fancy local wine, and Prince Philip responded, get me a beer. I don't care what kind it is, just get me a beer. He did the Englishman on holiday meme. What a lad. However, his hosts didn't seem so amused, because the drink order actually caused quite a bit of upset. Because, of fucking course it did. It's Italy. Italians really need to calm down about their food and drink. I'm sure the wine would have been lovely, and I will admit that Italian food is amazing, but you lot take it so fucking seriously that you just completely ruin it. When I was in Italy, I asked if I could have my meal without onions, and the waiter looked at me like I just spat in his mother's grave. You all know that I'm a big proponent of national pride, but when you're at the point where you're getting wages to defend the honour of pizza, then you're just a country of wankers. You all love to give us shit about our food, but at least we're not so fucking pretentious about it. Oh, this wine goes with this dish, but only at 3 minutes past midnight on the full moon. Shut the fuck up. Do you know how we pair drinks with food? Pint. Simple as. And it just works. All the extra fruity, snooty bullshit just makes me feel sorry for you in a way, because it's such an embarrassing cope from the lesser sons of greater men who fell 571 years ago, whose only desperate claim to relevance now is Papist Disneyland and linguine. You think you're so fucking high and mighty because you can cook the pasta? Fuck off. Richie, can you give me a hand? What's up, Trudy? Oh no. I didn't think that through. In 2003, Prince Philip opened the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Nigeria, and he famously told the Nigerian president, "You look like you're ready for bed." To be completely fair, that stuff does look really comfy. If I had that outfit, I would absolutely be cozy maxing. You know, running on a diet of cookies and warm milk and honk shoe me for absolutely days. Someone needs to get that man a little candle on a dish. But anyway, closer to home, Prince Philip rustled some jimmies at a 2009 Buckingham Palace reception, honouring 400 influential British Indians, where he saw one Atul Patel's name badge and said to him, "There are a lot of your family here tonight." I mean, he's kind of correct. But anyway, he also missed a similar memo when meeting with Tory politician Lord John Taylor of Warwick, asking him, "And what exotic part of the world do you come from?" And he responded, "Birmingham." Now, I know that last one sounds a little bit bad or based, depending on who you are, but despite what such interactions may lead you to believe, Prince Philip actually did a really solid job at foreign relations. After all, he was so well respected internationally that he didn't just have a cult of personality, he also had a literal cult. Look, I know that I said that this isn't a Mad Lad video and we weren't going to get too deep in the weeds, but I can't do a video about Prince Philip and not talk about the cargo cult. At the start of the 1900s, a couple of villages on the island of Tana in Vanuatu named Yakel and Yaunanan were visited by some English missionaries. This angered the locals' mountain god, who flew into a rage and sent his son to Britain to put a stop to all of the proselytizing. It is also said that this god's son would find a powerful wife and rule the world, at which point he would promote peace and the ideals of the villagers. You can see how the missionaries' teachings of the second coming of Christ sort of bled into the island's culture. But that second coming was to arrive in 1974, when Prince Philip and the Queen visited Vanuatu's capital, Port Vila, aboard the royal yacht Britannia. There, they were greeted by representatives from Tana who were in their own traditional war canoe. And they all basically went, "Holy shit, it's him." Or, as the quote by one of the paddlers, Chief Jack Niva, actually goes, "I saw him standing on the deck in his white uniform. I knew then that he was the true Messiah." Basically, the locals all saw Prince Philip standing there resplendent in his full navy uniform, and they all started going, "Lisan al-Gaib!" And from that moment, the Prince Philip movement was born. But if Prince Philip is supposed to be one of the islanders, he is very unmelanated. And before you cry, "Oh my god, Dankula, you can't just ask people why they're white," well, the islanders do actually have an explanation. And no, their mountain god isn't Yakub. You see, Prince Philip actually used to look like all of the islanders. But then he rolled over a coral reef, which, and I shit you not, this is a real fucking quote, shredded off his black skin and left him white. In the early 2000s, the islanders had a really wholesome correspondence with their deity, which started with a request for an official portrait. Prince Philip duly obliged, and the grateful elders of Tana sent him a hunting club called a Nal Nal, asking if he could send them a picture of him holding it in return. And of course, Prince Philip was more than happy to do that for them. And the picture does actually go pretty hard. These photos are kept in a shrine in their village, consisting of a Union Jack draped over the framed photos of their Messiah, which are kept as very sacred relics. Every evening, the villagers gather to drink kava and pray to Prince Philip, asking for an increase in crop production or sun or rain. And they say that this works, which I believe. Because if Prince Philip is giving the tribe the sun, then that explains why we don't fucking have any. But we got to subject the islanders to our own weather, because in 2007 a delegation of 5 islanders came to Britain for a Channel 4 documentary. They had a grand old time seeing the Big House, or Buckingham Palace as we call it, and visiting Madame Tussauds. Funnily enough, they only gave a shit about one of the waxworks, guess which fucking one, and they spent a whole hour admiring it, hugging it, and holding its hands. But they soon got to see their idol in the flesh because their trip culminated in a visit to Windsor Castle. Anthropologists knew what Prince Philip was like, and they were really, really worried about the meeting because one comment could send this entire cult into an existential crisis. But the islanders were ecstatic, with one of them, Jimmy Joseph, saying, "Because we believe that he is the son of our God, meeting him is just wonderful." In 2015, a cyclone hitting the island was interpreted as a sign of Prince Philip's prophesied return. But unfortunately, royal duties precluded him from doing so. However, a gap year student named Mark Rayner was on the island volunteering as a teacher, and to keep the tribe from being disappointed, he went in Philip's stead, even wearing their formal dress, which consisted of a penis sheath called a nambus. Rayner proved to be a great ambassador, saying that, and I quote, They are a wonderful people and I didn't want them to feel let down. I stepped in to explain that the prince's many responsibilities prevented him from visiting in person, and that he would one day rest in spirit on the island. The island's chief, Siko Nathuan, was more than happy with Philip's substitute, gratefully saying, "The prince was here in spirit. He is shaking the ground. I am so happy." Another cyclone hit the island as Prince Philip retired, which strengthened his divine mandate in the eyes of the islanders, because they believed that it was a sign of either his spiritual or physical return to the island, or his apotheosis. You see, they heard about him living in a palace with an entourage of guards and going around in a car with tinted windows, and this gave him a sense of the taboo in their minds. So, if he's withdrawing from public view even further, well, he just got even more sacred. Over the years, cult membership dwindled from the thousands to a few hundred, but this was still plenty for a big celebration of the Ginger Cuck's shackling in the Longhouse, consisting of a big party and an even bigger feast of pig. Funnily enough, there is a Prince Philip quote from the year 2000 that was also emblematic of the occasion. "People think there's a rigid class system here, but dukes have even been known to marry chorus girls. Some have even married Americans." Just for the record, since it's a big misconception across the pond, we don't hate Meghan Markle because we're racist. We hate her because the last time a royal married an American divorcee, it went very, very badly. Also, she's a bitch. After Prince Philip's passing, the villagers believed that his spirit returned home to them, and the now King Charles was deified in his place, and a coconut shell that he drank kava from whilst being made an honorary chief during his own 2018 visit to the villages was kept as a holy relic. Bringing things back home, Britain was once a titan of industry that has been continually kneecapped by managerial technocrats that sold off all of our manufacturing ability overseas for no reason. But luckily, our man was on hand to help us laugh through the decline. While stuck in a lift at Heriot-Watt University in 1958, Philip quipped that this could only happen in a technical college. 3 years later, he told the Industrial Co-Partnership Association on Britain's inefficient industries, "Gentlemen, I think it's time we pulled our fingers out." And after we didn't pull our fingers out and unemployment spiked during the 1981 recession, he observed that everybody was saying we must have more leisure. Now they are complaining that they're unemployed. In 1999, Prince Philip was shown a fuse box at an electronics factory in Edinburgh, and he said that it looks as if it was put in by an Indian. There were very many "fuck you bloody fucks" squawked all over the place, especially at the local call centres, and the sheer amount of coping and seething from Indians was very surprising, because I thought they were all very, very busy becoming a global superpower by 2020. But anyway, Buckingham Palace issued an apology in corporate newspeak, but Prince Philip himself went, "Don't worry, I've got this," and he clarified, "I meant to say cowboys. I got my cowboys and Indians mixed up." Superb PR. Speaking of great PR, at the 2002 opening of City Hall in London, Prince Philip observed that, of course, the problem with London is the tourists. They cause the congestion. They block the streets. If we could just stop tourism, we could stop the congestion. That's one very long fucking holiday that all of these tourists are on. Surely 22 years is long enough to have seen all of London. Can they all go home now? I've actually run out of contrived segues to frame these next few quotes, so fuck it, I'm just going to call this section Miscellaneous Musings and Observations. And to make up for such an embarrassing lack of narrative framing and cohesion, let's start with a fun exercise. You've all gotten to know Prince Philip a little bit by now, so how about a little test of what you've learned so far? I'm going to make this next one multiple choice, so here is a quote. People usually say that after a fire, it is the water damage that is the worst. We are still drying out Windsor Castle. So, who did Prince Philip say this to? Was it A, representatives of an insurance company? B, a local fire brigade? C, workers at Thames Water? Or D, a parish council after a fireworks show that went awry? I'll give you a little moment to mull it over. Place bets now. Banzai. Got your answer locked in? Good. If you answered at all, you're fucking wrong and you haven't been paying enough attention because all of those answers make some kind of sense. So, it was clearly none of them. Prince Philip actually said this to the survivors of the Lockerbie bombing in 1993. He said this to the survivors of the Lockerbie bombing. There is a time and a place, Philip. 3 years later, Prince Philip had something to say in the aftermath of another tragedy in Scotland, the Dunblane school shooting, on which he said, if a cricketer, for instance, suddenly decided to go into a school and batter a lot of people to death with a cricket bat, which he could do very easily, I mean, are you going to ban cricket bats? This comment drew a lot of controversy for not only the obvious points of poor taste, but also as to whether or not this was a political comment and therefore a breach of protocol. For those that aren't from the UK and probably don't know, the royal family are not allowed to engage in any kind of politics whatsoever. The comment might have been a little bit insensitive, sure, but you cannot deny that while Prince Philip may have been a little bit out of line, he's right. Sorry, not sorry. Also, while he was staying in Scotland, Philip asked a Scottish driving instructor, how do you keep the natives off the booze long enough to pass the test? Other somewhat out-of-pocket comments came when Prince Philip opened a school in the year 2000, and he said, fuck them kids. Or what he actually said was, you send children to school to get them out of your hair. Then they come back and make life difficult for parents. That is why holidays are set, so that they are just about the limit of your endurance. A year later, he also told a 13-year-old boy who wanted to go into space, you're too fat to be an astronaut. Oh, you want to be a spaceman? Well, there's not enough fuel in the world for that, fat boy. There's going to take a hell of a lot of thrust to get you to escape Earth's gravitational pull. You've got a gravitational pull your own, fatty, little fatty chubby boy. I'm sorry. That probably destroyed that boy's life. That fucking comment. Why not? Even though this is the year 2000, how old's that boy now? Like the guy's in his 30s, I guarantee he's not an astronaut. He's probably still fat. But anyway, he also told a fashion designer that you didn't design your beard too well, did you? Now this sounds bad, but I actually admire Prince Philip's restraint. I must admit that if I met a male fashion designer, I would have made a very different comment about beards. To be fair, Prince Philip didn't just get his kicks from bullying the proles. He also had it out for celebrities from time to time. After Tom Jones performed at the 1969 Royal Variety, Prince Philip asked him, what do you gargle with? Pebbles? And when responding to a comment about how difficult it is to get rich in Britain, Prince Philip recalled the performance again by pointing out, what about Tom Jones? He's made $1 million and he's a bloody awful singer. Prince Philip didn't seem to have the best luck with lineups at the Royal Variety because in 2001, Elton John was performing, which was bemoaned with, I wish he'd turn the microphone off. But in the interest of being a good sport, Prince Philip also talked shit to Elton John's face. After learning that the Rocket Man had sold his gold Aston Martin, Philip said, "Oh, it's you that owns that ghastly car. We often see it when driving to Windsor Castle." Prince Philip's irreverent streak is obvious, and it was such a big part of his persona that he even had a tendency to be rather unserious about himself. After all, he was just a bloody amoeba compared to the Queen. For instance, he told Jeremy Paxman that any bloody fool can lay a wreath at the thingamy. And during a 1969 visit to Canada, the thingamy was consecrated, as he said, "I declare this thing open, whatever it is." During a subsequent visit in 1976, Prince Philip also said, "We don't come here for our health, we can think of other ways of enjoying ourselves." I don't think anyone goes to Canada for their health anymore. It's quite the opposite. In a similar case of giving zero fucks, when Her Majesty opened an £18 million British embassy in Berlin, Prince Philip commented that it's a vast waste of space. And on another very important royal matter, he's also quoted as having said, "Don't ask me to explain why it is that the Queen has an official birthday in June when her proper birthday's in April. You'll just have to accept it." We all like to make our work that little bit more fun in our own small ways. And when your job is meeting people, well, you're going to fuck with them, aren't you? It seems that Prince Philip was surprisingly grounded despite the high places that he always inhabited, which manifested in a rather surprising complaint about the quality of food at Buckingham Palace, saying, "I never see any home cooking, all I get is fancy stuff." I know that this could sound a little bit woe's me, my food is far too good, but it does raise an interesting point about having sacrificed the chance to have a normal life. It's probably a bit cringe for me to say this, about me, Mr. Niche Internet Micro-Celebrity, but I do relate to that a little bit because being in the spotlight, it's nowhere near as fun as you think it is. Some people are absolutely desperate for it, but see if I could go back to being a complete nobody but still make the same amount of money that I'm making right now, I would do it in a second. I would do it in a second, seriously. So I do dread to imagine what it must have been like for Prince Philip. But on that note, Prince Philip also had something interesting to say when recounting his own school days. "I was not the least aware I was any different from any of the others. It's true, I had this title of Prince, but it's surprising how you can live it down. My favourite subject at school was avoiding unnecessary work." And despite his clear dedication to service, the work certainly grated on him, as all the best jobs tend to do at some point. Such may be the case with the most iconic Prince Philip moment that all of you probably know. The 2015 event at the RAF Club commemorating the 75th anniversary of the Battle of Britain. The photographer wouldn't stop faffing around, and Prince Philip got a little bit impatient. But despite that irreverence and relative groundedness, Prince Philip still had a sense of his own worth as the Queen's consort. Enough to call a car park attendant who didn't recognise him a bloody silly fool in 1997. Also, when a BBC newsreader, Michael Burke, confirmed to the Prince that he knew what the Duke of Edinburgh scheme was, the eponymous Duke said, "Well, that's more than you know about anything else then." But despite this apparent show of ego, which is warranted because fuck journalists, he proved himself to be rather humble about his passion project, saying, "Legacy? No, it's got nothing to do with me. It's there for people to use. I couldn't care less. It's relevant too because it's part of the process of growing up." And it's good that legacy is coming up now, because with age comes a tendency towards reflection. And when asked how he felt about his life in 1992, Prince Philip simply said, "I'd much rather have stayed in the Navy, frankly." Summing up his career, he also said, "I've just done what I think is my best. Some people think it's alright, some don't. What can you do? I can't suddenly change my whole way of doing things. I can't change my interests and the way in which I react to things. It's part of my style. It's just too bad they'll have to lump it." But this wasn't much of an epiphany, because Prince Philip was always this self-aware. Even back in 1968, he was admitting that, "As so often happens, I discover that it would have been better to keep my mouth shut." And telling industrial workers, "I have never been noticeably reticent about talking on subjects about which I know nothing." There's actually a term for this, by the way. Prince Philip declared himself as an expert in what he called dontopedology, which he described as the science of opening your mouth and putting your foot in it. But regardless of any perceived faults, he kept at it in the role ordained for him until he decided to step back from his duties in 2011 around his 90th birthday, saying that it's better to get out before you reach your sell-by date. "I reckon I've done my bit so I can enjoy myself. Less responsibility, less frantic rushing about, less trying to think of something to say. I'm just sort of winding down." In the end, Prince Philip retired in 2017 after 70 years of dropping absolute bangers. However, he still had a couple left in the tank. While contemplating his mortality, the staunch environmentalist mused that, "In the event that I am reincarnated, I would like to return as a deadly virus, to contribute something to solving overpopulation." Which turned out to be surprisingly prophetic, considering the fact that there was a devastating pandemic of hypochondria that occurred at the end of his life. Also, what a very interesting thing for a man from a family very closely linked to the WEF to say. How odd. Also, on the 9th of April 2021, Philip was on the phone with the then Prince Charles about plans for his 100th birthday, which was just a couple of months away. As many people are as they get older, Prince Philip didn't seem too fussed about the occasion, which prompted Charles to insist that, and I quote, "We're talking about your birthday, and whether there's going to be a reception." And not at all to Charles's surprise, Philip came back with, "Well, I've got to be alive for it, haven't I?" And to show just how committed he was to the bit, Prince Philip died just hours later. And as far as we know, those were his last words. Messing with his son. A troll to the very end. Press F, boys. The man died a legend. Prince Philip left behind a very colourful reputation with plenty of controversy, because you're not based if you haven't upset a bunch of journalists and academics. He mined so much salt over the years as journos and academics coped and seethed about my racism and my bigotry. You know the drill. Kahindi Andrews, a professor of black studies at Birmingham City University, said he was a throwback to old school racism. Painting him as a benign, cuddly uncle of the nation is simply untrue. Birmingham. Black studies. Opinion discarded. After Prince Philip passed, some Amerimut named Frederick Joseph said, "Many of the same people who were having conversations about Prince Philip's history of racism and colonialism are now saying we should also mourn him." Look, we've already settled the right of Americans to have opinions on how we do things, but cope and seethe yank. Also, Prince Philip asked a group of East End women, "Who do you sponge off?" And Owen Jones was, well, Owen Jones about it. But how can you say such slanderous things about Prince Philip when he was actually the first ever woke progressive royal? All the way back in 1984, he accepted a gift from a woman in Kenya and was gracious enough to double-check her pronouns. Yes, Prince Philip was such an ally to the LGBTLMNOP people because he asked her, "You are a woman, aren't you?" He was also an ally to the disabled, refusing to condescend and treat them as fragile. And instead, he interacted with them in the same way that he did with everyone else. For instance, while talking to some deaf people in Cardiff, their school's steel band was nearby, which prompted him to quip, "Deaf? If you're near there, no wonder you're deaf." In 2002, he also said to a blind woman, "Do you know that they're now producing eating dogs for anorexics?" I'm not sure if she saw the funny side. One of the most controversial incidents with Prince Philip was a meeting with a 15-year-old blind boy named Stephen Menery. This was during 2002's Golden Jubilee celebrations. The Queen asked if the child had much of their sight left, and Prince Philip said, "Not a lot, judging by the tie he's wearing." Holy fucking shit. This comment kinda sucked all of the oxygen out the room, because even despite his reputation, Stephen's mother and the rest of the family were shocked, with the former even being quoted as saying, "The Queen just looked at him open-mouthed." I don't think she could believe what he had just said. However, the lingering question of why the fuck would you say that to a blind child seemed to get an answer 8 years later. Stephen had developed a theory that's rather interesting and actually really quite wholesome, saying, "I know he has a reputation for making seemingly offensive remarks, but I don't think there's any malice in what he says. He meets people that are often very nervous about meeting him and other members of the royal family. And I think he just tries to put people at ease by trying to make a joke. I certainly didn't take any offence." I'm honestly inclined to believe this, because presumably in the same spirit, Prince Philip even said to Malala, the girl famous for delivering a platinum chip to a Pakistani school, that children go to school because their parents don't want them in the house. And he got a few giggles out of her. For all the pomp and circumstance, stiff upper lip and high profile of Prince Philip's existence, he was surprisingly down to earth, which I think served as a good contrast to the impenetrable divine image that royals must project by design, while still exemplifying the sense of duty and service that we should all strive towards. If the monarch is the embodiment of a nation, Prince Philip may have just been the voice of her people, even saying what we were all thinking about taxes in 1963. All money nowadays seems to be produced with a natural homing instinct for the treasury. That is absolutely true, and it's only gotten a lot worse since then. And before you Republichuds get fucking antsy in the comments, no, the royal family does not sponge off of taxes. In fact, they don't just pay taxes, the Crown's entire income is forfeit to the Treasury in exchange for an allowance, because George III was a fucking idiot and so deep in debt that he had to make that deal with the government to avoid defaulting. If Republicans got what they wanted, all that would happen is that the royals would keep their estate, move it to the Cayman Islands, become some of the most privately wealthy people in the world, and stop funding the bottom feeders' monthly tugboats. Sing God Save the King like the rest of us, or get a fucking job. Prince Philip was by no means a bumbling racist granddad like some people want you to believe. The man was just really funny. And clearly extremely sharp-witted. In fact, he was so good at what he did that it prompted a rare comment from David Cameron that wasn't about gay marriage. He said, "Humour is a great part of British life, and we thank the Duke for his unique contribution." I really resent the media's habit of calling the veritable goldmine of Philippisms gaffes, because that does the prince very little credit. Sure, some of them would have been gaffes. I mean, you can't do 22,000 engagements without misspeaking from time to time, but the man clearly knew what he was doing. And I have an undying respect for his legendary run as one of the greatest shitposters of all time. And with that said, I'll let the Metro play us out with a montage of Prince Philip at the top of his game, just being a bit of a troll. Thank you for your service, and thanks for all the laughs.
Where do you come from, Philippines. Philippines, I say half empty. You're all here. Running the NHS. Thank you very much for your welcome and for those two things. Come up, you stupid tree huggers. Bunny hugger. World's most experienced plaque unveiler. World's greatest expert in plaque unveiling. I've been here before and opened practically every other building. And if you go on doing this, you're going to have to change the name of the college.
This very private of public couples, quite a romantic gesture.
Finish? Let each member of the family get on with whatever lunacy they feel like indulging in.
I just said that I worked in a club, and then he asked, oh, what, a strip club?
What did you say to that?
Obviously I said no. And then he said, oh, it's a bit too cold today anyway.
The cleaners are going to come in here like, why is our Hoover full of spaghetti? Oh shit, did it go that far?
Yeah. It goes all the way to your chair. Nice one, Diffus. Hope it was worth it. You're a fucking moron.
It was funny at the time, but literally as soon as it went airborne, I went, oh yeah, that's going to go everywhere.
It's Count Dankula on YouTube. Everybody just...